If you want more FIFA content from me, I'm now uploading exclusive videos to Patreon. The link for that is down below. And if you want to avoid the random lottery that is FIFA points, you can go straight to the source with u7buy.com. And of course, you can use the code TVM at checkout to get yourself a discount. What is going on, guys? TVM here. Welcome back to the second review of the day. I'm not sure if this goes out before 6 PM content or after it. Either way, Alexander Esswein's Flashback option is up for review today. I've done Gervinho already. If you are wondering if I was going to do him, he's already on the channel. He's not doing too well right now, actually. So if you are interested, go check it out. If not, don't worry about it. I've got you covered with the other selection. Now, this is going to be the one that brings the most nostalgia, I would have thought. And that is, of course, Alexander Esswein. Now, there is an elephant in the room. I addressed it. I took 3 minutes to address it with Gervinho. I think I'm going to talk about it a little bit sooner with Esswein because it is one of the missing pieces to the puzzle here. With Gervinho, I'm not going to ruin the review, but what we're talking about is 3-star, 3-star. With Gervinho, it doesn't ruin the card because he has a lot more going for him than just the fact that he needs the 3-star, 3-star. Esswein, on the other hand, and we're going to get into it straight away, he doesn't have the mobility that Gervinho has. He doesn't have the work rate that Gervinho has. And I'm not going to directly compare them because they're not really... I mean, you can compare them. They play in very similar positions. But it's not for me to say, right, well, this one's better than this one sort of thing. I know they're up against each other in terms of which one you choose. But that's kind of irrelevant, right? So is Esswein good? Is he useful? Well, the stats would suggest that he's decent, right? So you've got 92 acceleration, 95 sprint speed, 99 shot power, and I cannot stress this enough, and I do talk about this a lot when we talk about players with great shot power. I think Makis for Granada was one that has really good shot power, and it makes the card so much better because if you can hit the target, it doesn't matter how accurate they are in terms of where they strike the ball on goal. As long as they hit the target, realistically, that shot power is going to give them that edge in beating the goalkeeper. And it sounds... I mean, if you think about it, it sounds simple, and then it also sounds like a little bit nonsensical at the same time, but it does, honestly, it works. It does make sense. With that being said, though, he does have relatively poor finishing. You might consider 80 to be not that bad, but when we're talking about an 87 rated card with some really good stats and effectively an 88 rated card across the board in certain positions, especially as a striker without a chem style, he is an 88 rated striker points per position. So you would... you'd think, well, 80 finishing, actually, that is a little bit low. And yeah, because I'm going to use him as a striker as well. I know you can use him as a midfielder, you can use him as a winger if you want to, if you play those positions. Most of us play 4-1-2-1-2, maybe even a 4-4-2, or what other formation do people play? I've seen a lot of 4-3-2-1s recently, which is effectively like having 3 strikers. It depends if you tell them to go wide or not, but yeah, I'm not saying everyone plays narrow formations, but a lot of people do. So you may be using him as a striker, and if you are, this review will give you a better understanding. Now, as we go through over to the passing, his short passing stat at 85 is actually not that bad, but his vision is terrible at 75, which means his passing is going to be very temperamental. And then we get into the problematic section, the dribbling. 94 reactions, 91 ball control, 93 dribbling is sensational for any card. Even if it's a Team of the Year card, that is very, very good. However, 85 balance, 81 balance, 85 agility, combined with the fact that he is 6 foot and has a 3-star weak foot, that is not a recipe for disaster. I'm not going to over exaggerate here. It's not terrible, but it does make the card feel quite slow. Not slow in the sense of, you know, in a straight line running, but when he's on the ball and he's trying to change position and whatnot, it's not ideal. That is one banging team, by the way. Even with Esswein in there and the review I'm about to give him, I feel like that team is very, very good. And the standout player, you're not going to believe it. You couldn't guess it if you tried. And Diddy. Absolutely incredible. I've reviewed him already, but he's brilliant. He was the star man in that team. You've got Neymar, you've got Fred, you've got Moments Icon. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make him like blind bit of difference. And Diddy broke up everything. I barely conceded a goal because that guy is everywhere. He's so good. That being said, let's talk about the man in question, of course, Alexander Esswein, who I think got himself an assist there, or at least involved, and you will see goals from him. But the whole point of actually me setting these clips up the way that I have done, this is the contrast in performance. So this is just one game, not the whole thing, but this is, at the moment, for the next maybe minute, is one game. And this is the sort of typical performance you can expect from him. He's onside there, believe it or not, and he misses an open goal because he hits it with his weak foot. Had that been a 4-star weak foot, or indeed a 5-star weak foot, he would have scored that. I kind of snapped at the shot because I thought I was offside, but yeah, not my... I mean, it is my fault, but I could have just stopped and waited and hit with the, side-footed it in, tapped it in, but a striker should be finishing from that range regardless of what foot he's on. But this is one contrast of performance, right? So you've got this where he can't seem to put the ball in the back of the net despite the amount of chances he's been given. He's clean through on goal here. He's in, he waits a little bit, hits the top of the crossbar, beats the keeper, just put a little bit too much on it. And you can blame me all you want, and I'll take it on board and maybe take it on the chin slightly. But some of these efforts he really should be scoring. And then this is the very next game, and this is the contrast in performance that we have. It's a similar position that he's been in before, and he bangs it in the top bins. And that's not the only goal he scores in this game. He actually goes on a bit of a rampage, and he scores a considerable number of goals. 5 goals in one game against... And you might be thinking, well, your opponent's trash, that's why. He wasn't that bad. Honestly, I'm shocked I managed to score as many goals as I did. This guy was a very good attacker. He had some decent midfielders in there, and his defending wasn't the best, to be fair, but that's not the point. This guy was a good player. And when I went 2-0 up, I actually struggled for a little while to maintain the lead. And if you needed any evidence that it is the card that we're using to review, there we go. If you know, you know. If you don't, then don't even worry about it. With that being said, is Esswein any good? He's not bad, but he's not great. And I think that's the underlying message of the review here. He is very inconsistent when it comes to his finishing. 1 minute, like I said, banging them in from 40 yards, makes it look easy. Next minute, he's got an open goal, he hits the post. And you can argue that it's my fault, you can argue that it's the game, but when you're scoring goals as beautiful as that, and I'm going to show you a replay because it blew my socks off, and then you miss open goals, it's just night and day. And I don't, I play a lot of FIFA, and I play with a lot of different cards, and I don't find that I have that much inconsistency in my strikers as I do with this guy. I can tell the difference between the game shafting me being terrible, and the card just not being good enough. And unfortunately, despite the fact that the gameplay was actually fine, the gameplay was perfect I say perfect. It was as perfect as it can be with regards to FIFA. Nothing's perfect in the world of EA, but you know what I mean? It actually worked. It was responsive. For the most part, it was doing what I wanted it to do, so I'm not going to blame the finishing on the game. My ability could come into question, sure, why not? But Esswein is not consistent in front of goal. So can he do anything else? Well, the problem is he doesn't have great mobility. So his where have I got down in cons? His agility, I mean, when I say his agility in itself isn't a bad stat, but when you combine it with his height and his balance, and the fact that he has a 4-star weak foot, it's not a good recipe, and it does really hinder him. Now, why does a weak foot matter when his agility is poor, or his mobility is poor? Well, the reason I speak of that is not for the sake of it. The reason I bring up the weak foot is because if you've got poor agility or terrible mobility, not very good mobility, below average, then you find it difficult to change direction. You're not going to be able to burst out of turns very quickly, and you may sometimes be required to play the ball with your weaker foot because you can't turn away from the challenge quick enough. That happens a lot with Esswein because he's just not responsive enough, and it's got nothing to do with the reaction stat. If your player doesn't have great mobility in terms of agility, balance, and the height goes against him because he is quite tall, and in FIFA 20 that doesn't help, then you can't turn round quick enough. I'm not talking about ball rolls, they're snappy, but when it comes to just left stick dribble, he's just not that quick. So you are going to need to play the ball with the left foot quite often, and that obviously isn't great because he's only got 3-star. He's not unusable, I'm not saying that at all. I have put him in a class 3, and I'm saying that he's not meta because I don't believe that he is. It's not far off, to be fair. If he had without the chem style, of course, I've given him a sniper. Right, so with that, he's got 95 agility, 86 balance. You think, well, that's fine. It's not, though, because it's not natural. So if he had naturally 95 agility and 86 balance, different story. Then with a chem style on top, we're talking 99, 96, and then or 91, and we're talking like a very good meta card. But unfortunately, he doesn't have that, and his height does play a big part. So Of course, his body type doesn't help as well because it's average. If it was lean, then again, we might be talking about a different thing. He's not unusable. He is good for nostalgia purposes. He can score goals. He's just very inconsistent. And just because I didn't enjoy him, as indicated by the 60 rating, doesn't mean you won't enjoy him. If you like him in real life, you liked him in previous FIFAs, I'm sure you'll pick him up and you'll get on with him just fine. But unfortunately, he's not really for me, and I'm so happy that I chose Gervinho on my main account. But like I said, he's not completely unusable. He's just not as good as Gervinho is, even though I don't really like to compare the two. It just works better in the game, really. But if you're good at the game, then you might be able to overcome some of the pitfalls and downfalls of this card. But it is what it is. If you have enjoyed the review, then do me a favour and hit that like button. Let me know what you think of him in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until the next time, goodbye.
Football Index. The game changed. Download the app now.